Hello and welcome again to Bible Class Topics. It's another 10-minute devotional. Today's topic is the wrath of God. We'll be looking in Romans chapter 1 and we'll start with verses 18 and 19. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. Romans chapter 1, verses 18 and 19, the New King James Version. Wrath is the personal manifestation of God's holy, moral character in judgment against sin. Wrath is neither an impersonal process, nor is it irrational and fitful like anger. It is in no way vindictive or malicious. It is holy, righteous indignation, God's anger directed against sin. Nelson's Illustrated Bible Dictionary. Wrath or anger ascribed to man can be dangerous when it has no cause, when it is taken to excess, or when it's held for an extended period of time. Take an opportunity to pause the video and look at Matthew chapter 5:22, Colossians 3:8, and Ephesians 4:26. But when wrath is ascribed to God, it is sinless and a true example of righteous indignation. The psalmist has this to say: God judges the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. According to our text, God's wrath is against two things: all ungodliness of men and all unrighteousness of men. Ungodliness represents sin directed against God, that is, failure in one's duties towards God, while unrighteousness represents sins directed towards God's precepts. This includes failure in one's duties toward ourselves and toward our fellow man. Taken together, these terms express God's anger towards those that practice the entire catalog of sin. In the context at hand, God has directed his wrath toward men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. These men were the Gentiles who had in times past received God's will via direct revelation, angels, or inspired men, but since those times had, through their traditions, or just pure ignorance, watered down the truth, or ignored it, until it was unrecognizable in their lives. So these unrighteous men were holding down the truth, either purposefully or through their own ignorance. A claim of ignorance would be no excuse, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. Paul will use the remainder of chapter 1 to prove these facts. Romans 1:22 through 25 shows that the Gentiles had become idolaters and had practiced all the lust of the flesh that attend such worship. This was their ungodliness. Romans 1:26 through 32 shows that the Gentiles, because of their ungodliness, began to practice unrighteousness as they sinned with and against one another. Again, I encourage you to pause the video and go read these passages. Note that the list contains sins such as idolatry, disrespect of one's own body, those filled with injustice, a greedy desire, ill will, a vicious disposition, discontent at another's good fortune, intent to commit murder, a quarrelsome attitude, treachery, attributing the worst motives to the actions of others, those practicing cowardly or open slander, gross disrespect, empty pretensions, a mind to disobey their parents, purposeful ignorance, covenant breakers, and the unmerciful. It would also be worth your time to go look at Colossians chapter 3, verses 5 through 7. In verse 32 of Romans chapter 1, it tells us not only are the perpetrators of these sins guilty, but also those that would approve their practice. In Romans 1, 16 and 17, Paul continues, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God to salvation for everyone who believes, for the Jew first and also for the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith." Paul has already explained how salvation is obtained through the gospel. The gospel is God's power for salvation to those who believe it. For a way for sinners to become righteous is revealed in it, as an inducement for men to believe it to escape the penalty of a violated law. R.L. Whiteside, his commentary on Romans. What about today? Would practitioners of the things in Paul's list be guilty of sin today? Would they be in danger of the wrath of God? In the minds of the world today, Paul has concocted a disjointed list of behaviors ranging from outright wrongdoing, such as murder, to some things that are probably wrong, such as contract breaking and slander, to activities that are nobody's business except the consenting adults who are practicing it, the fornicators. These are the very empty words that Paul told the Ephesians that would come from the disobedient. What did he tell them? "Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not be partakers with them." Unfortunately for the world, it's not in tune with God. Just as the world of Paul's time had disregarded God and his laws concerning these matters, the world of our own time has done the same. What our world, along with the world of the first century, does not understand is that God's wrath is a demonstration of his love. Back to Nelson's dictionary. God's wrath is a demonstration of his holy love. If God is not a God of wrath, his love is no more than frail, worthless sentimentality. The concept of mercy is meaningless, and the cross was a cruel and unnecessary experience for his own son. Paul continues in Romans chapter 3:23, and he says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." And later on in Romans chapter 5 and verse 12, "Death spread to all men because all have sinned." The blessed gospel then, friends, is for all. Why? Because all men are in need of salvation. A link to the transcript of today's study is available in the video description below. Thanks for watching. Please like or dislike this video and subscribe to the channel. Leave any suggestions in the comments as well. Also, in the video description below, I will include the lyrics to the gospel hymn by John M. McCaleb entitled "The Gospel is for All," or as some call it, "The Blessed Gospel is for All." Thank you for watching Bible Class Topics and this 10-minute devotional.